Okay, in this video, I am going to break down my 16 best players from the 1980 Strat-O-Matic set. I landed on the number 16 because I know there were 26 teams in Major League Baseball in 1980, but I don't want to go through, you know, 25, 26 players with you because video would have been way too long. So I landed on the number 16. Um, and I could tell you that I went through a number of different iterations with my final list here, which I'm going to break down for you here in a minute. Um, One of the things that I did in making up this list was um, I first gathered probably between 30 and 40 players who I felt were worthy of being at the very top of this list. And then what I started to do in a way was I started to build kind of like a little bit of a draft board, working my way down, starting at number one, going all the way down. And even doing it that way, I went through a number of different variations. There were some guys who were actually in my top 10 at one point who eventually did not make it. Um, but I just thought this would be something fun to do, just a little trip down memory lane, remembering some of the players from the great season of 1980. So let me get started with the number one player from the 1980 season. Not a big surprise here. Kansas City Royals third baseman George Brett. This is not only the best offensive card in the 1980 set, but it's one of the best offensive cards that you're ever going to see. So, not much of a big surprise there. George Brett is your number one player from 1980. Now, number two overall, I'm going to go with the National League MVP from 1980, Mike Schmidt. Now, uh, that may seem like it was a little bit of an easy call, but I could tell you there are a couple of players that you're going to see who are going to be being picked very soon, who I seriously considered making the number two overall player. I just feel like Mike Schmidt is one of the best run producers from 1980. He gives you good defense at third base. So to me, this is a guy that you can't pass taking with the second overall pick. So let's go with Mike Schmidt with the number two pick. So there we have the two top third basemen off the board right away. Now, in my opinion, the next player who gives you the most bang for the buck in picking number third overall. Um, I'm going to go with the guy who I think is not only the best card in the 1980 set, but at his position, it's one of the best cards I've ever seen. I'm going to go with J.R. Richards, Houston Astros starting pitcher, number three overall. This is just a complete lockdown ace card that you get out of J.R. Richard. This is one of those guys who really, when you're playing with the 1980 set, you know when you put his card down to start a game, it's advantage you in the starting pitching category. So I got J.R. Richard as my number three overall player. In the 1980 set, obviously he's my number one starting pitcher in the 1980 set. With my number four pick for the 1980 season, now I know I've said a lot in the past about how I really value run producers more than table setters, but I'm going to have to make an exception in this case, and I'm going to go with Ricky Henderson, number four overall. I actually have him rated as my number two overall outfielder. He's my number one left fielder in the set. I just think because of his on base chance numbers are just so over the top, and obviously his speed, we know all about that. This is just too good of a player to pass up, and you just build your offense around him. You put some run producers uh, behind him in the lineup. There's just no question. This is the best leadoff card. In the 1980 Strat-O-Matic set. So Ricky Henderson goes number four overall. Number five overall, I am going to go with in my opinion, the best center fielder in the 1980 set. Andre Dawson, Montreal Expos. You see his on base chance numbers and his hits with multiple base advancement. You just get everything you need out of a centerpiece item, which is obviously what you're looking for when you're looking at. Basically, if you could imagine this as being like a 16 team league and you're making a first round pick, you're obviously looking for a centerpiece to your team and your lineup. I just think Andre Dawson just fits this mold perfectly. Plays great center field, and all of his offensive numbers across the board are looking really, really good. So again, just to recap, we got Brett 1, Schmidt 2, J.R. Richard 3, Ricky Henderson 4, Andre Dawson number 5. So that is my top 5. Now, with the number 6 pick, I decided to in my opinion, where I would go with this number 6 pick, I decided to go with the second best starting pitcher in the 1980 set. That's National League Cy Young Award winner Steve Carlton. And you can make an argument that this card is just as good as J.R. Richard, although I like J.R. Richard's card better. But there's no question. You've got your ace starting pitcher here in Steve Carlton. To me, I kind of look at this as almost being kind of like a safe pick in a way. Really not going out on the limb. You really can't go wrong with Steve Carlton as your ace. So I have him as my sixth best player in the 1980 set. Number 7 overall, I am going to go with the guy who, in my opinion, is the best first baseman in the 1980 set. He gives you great on base numbers and very respectable numbers when it comes to hits with multiple base advancement. St. Louis Cardinals, Keith Hernandez. You see all of his numbers right there. What I like about this card is that you could kind of look at him as either being a number 2 in your lineup or number 3 in your lineup. He kind of serves kind of like a dual purpose there, and obviously plays great first base as well. So Keith Hernandez is definitely a guy that you could build your offense around. So that's why I have him going number 7 overall. Now, here's where the draft started to get really interesting, in my opinion. And this is where I found myself making some changes along the way where I would finish like my first 8 to 12 or so, and then I would find myself making some changes off of that. Um, but where I'm going to go with the number 8 overall pick, in my opinion, he is the third best outfielder in the 1980 set. And in my opinion, he's the second best center fielder in the set. Houston Astros, Cesar Cedeno. You see his numbers right there. This is just a great card out of Cedeno. He plays good enough defense for center field. And this is another one of those guys who gives you a little bit of lineup flex where, if you want to use his on base numbers to use him to lead off and maybe steal a base, or you could hit him 3 or 4 in your lineup because he has really nice numbers when it comes to driving runners in, especially when he faces left-handed pitching. So I feel good about Cesar Cedeno being my number 8 player overall in this draft. At number 9 overall, we're going to stay in the outfield, and I'm going to go with the guy who I think is my number 4 overall outfielder and my number 1 right fielder. Had an absolutely great card in 1980. Montreal Expos right fielder Ellis Valentine. You see all of his numbers right there. And of course, you're going to get excellent defense out of him. The -5 arm is kind of nice in right field as well. But really, just a great card out of Ellis Valentine in 1980. You see, very consistent. He takes care of both left-handed and right-handed pitching. So I feel good about the Ellis Valentine pick at number 9 overall. Number 10 overall, I this is one pick that I found myself again kind of settling, because in my opinion, if you're going to take someone in this top 16 like fantasy draft that I'm doing here, uh, I feel like if you're going to take a starting pitcher, then he better be a no question lockdown number one ace. There can't be any doubt about his card. And in my opinion, there are only three pitchers in this set that really fit that mold. There were a couple of pitchers who just barely missed, um, but in my opinion, the third best pitcher in the 1980 set is Los Angeles Dodgers Jerry Royce. You see his numbers right there. Just a very stingy card out of Jerry Royce. In my opinion, he is the third best starting pitcher in the 1980 set. Again, it may be looked at a little bit as a safe pick in a way, but like I just said, if you're going to take a pitcher in the top 16, he better be a lockdown number one starter, and that's what Jerry Royce is from 1980. Just a great card out of Jerry Royce. At number 11 overall, I am going to go with my second best first baseman in the 1980 set. Uh, California Angels Rod Carew is my number 11 player overall in this draft. You see, you get outstanding on base numbers from Rod Carew, as well as very good defense and very respectable hits with multiple base advancement. So again, you're looking at a guy who gives you some lineup flex. You could hit him one, two, or even three in your order. So I feel good about Rod Carew being the number 11 player in the 1980 set. Now, my number 12 player overall. This is one of the guys who I originally had in my top 10, but he dropped down just a little bit. But I still made sure to keep him pretty high on my board when it comes to the best players from the 1980 set. I'm going to go with Kansas City Royals outfielder Willie Wilson. Now, what I really like about Willie Wilson's card, not only does he give you really nice offensive numbers, especially when he faces left-handed pitching, I also really like the fact that you get really nice position flex out of Willie Wilson. Even though he primarily played left field in 1980, you see has center field on your card. So this is a guy, if you take him, you could say, okay, I'm going to take him to play center field. But then if you don't land on a left fielder or you find another center fielder who you really like, you could move him over, play him anywhere you want, left field or center field. So I really like the pick of Willie Wilson, number 12 overall. And you could see I have him as my fifth best overall outfielder and my number two left fielder in the draft. Number 13 overall, I'm going to go with Gary Carter, Montreal Expos. I think this is the best catcher's card in the 1980 set when you factor in both hitting and defense. There are a couple of catchers who may have better on base numbers or maybe match Gary Carter's hits with multiple base advancement, but none of them is the entire package like Gary Carter with on base numbers, hits with multiple base advancement, as well as great defense behind the plate. Remember, we are down to the 13th pick out of 16 picks of this imaginary first round that I'm taking you through. So we are getting pretty close to the point where you have a pick and then you pick pretty quick right after. But I just think Gary Carter is a guy who is too good to pass up here because obviously he plays the premium position of catcher and he gives you great defense. And you know that this is a guy that you could slide either three, four, or five in your lineup and you're going to be fine. So I like the pick of Gary Carter, number 13 overall. Um, Number 14 overall. Now, I could tell you, it was these last three slots where things really started to get difficult for me because I found myself, sliding a lot of guys in and out of my list here. And again, you got to remember my rationale behind these picks is, you know, if I was to be in the chair of whatever pick we're talking about. So let's say I'm sitting in the chair where I have the 14th overall pick out of 16 slots taken in this first round. Who do I think is the best available player still able to be picked? Well, I know the 1980 set well enough to know that I could still piece together a really good outfield, even with the outfielders who have already been taken. I also know that there are enough really good run producers who are going to be available, like in the 30s or the 40s or the 50s, somewhere around there. And I'm thinking to myself, I better grab this guy now because, in my opinion, I think he's the second best leadoff hitter in the 1980 set. And I think he's the best second baseman in the 1980 set. New York Yankees, Willie Randolph. He is my number 14 player in the 1980 set. You see, his on base chance numbers are just ridiculous. And um, double A stealing. He plays very good defense at second base. So to me, this is a guy that you take him, you hit him lead off, and you build the offense around Willie Randolph. Get some run producers in the later rounds, but be happy with Willie Randolph always being on base and stealing bases and playing a premium position like second base. So let's go with Willie Randolph, number 14 overall. Um, Now we land on the number 15 pick. All right. And again, I found myself saying, you know, I would like to start filling out, or I'd like to find a player who I could build my team middle out. That meaning second base, shortstop, center field, something like that. As well as a guy who can play multiple roles in my offense. Either bat him leadoff, you could hit him second, you could hit him third. In my opinion, the guy who is perfect for this role at number 15 overall, he's my number two second baseman in the 1980 set. I'm going to go with Paul Molitor of the Milwaukee Brewers. Molitor has excellent on base numbers, and you see he has just outstanding numbers across the board when he faces left handed pitching. You see, his defense is not great. I mean, it's not as good as Willie Randolph's, but his defense is good enough to second base for second base where it's not going to kill you. But you can see he's also a double A stealing. So again, this is a guy who could fill multiple roles when you're filling out your lineup card. You could hit him one, two, or three in your order, and I just think you get really good bang for your buck out of Paul Molitor being your number one pick in this first round. So I'm going to go with Paul Molitor with my 15th overall best player in the 1980 set. So now we come to the final slot in the 1980 draft here. Now, remember, if you're sitting here picking at number 16, you also have the number 17 pick. So, my rationale behind this pick was I was thinking, okay, I know the 1980 set well enough to know that there are still plenty of good outfielders out there. There's still plenty of good run producers who could go later in the draft. There are a number of quality starting pitchers out there who I didn't even mention yet in this video. So I'm pretty confident I could fill out um, a starting rotation and a good enough bullpen. However, the infield depth is starting to get a little shaky, especially when you consider the fact that Keith Hernandez, Rod Carew are off the board. The top two first basemen are done. The top two third basemen, Schmidt and Brett, are off the board. And the top two second basemen are off the board with Willie Randolph and Paul Molitor. Um, so where I decided to go with the number 16 overall pick, and keeping in mind that this is then also going to turn around with the next pick, my 16 and 17 best players in the set, Buddy Bell and Alan Trammell. Now, Alan Trammell, in my opinion, is the best shortstop in the 1980 set. He doesn't have the hits with multiple base advancement that Milwaukee Brewers Robin Yount has, but he plays great defense. He has excellent on base numbers, and in my opinion, he's the best shortstop, overall shortstop in the 1980 set. And Buddy Bell is just a solid third baseman who plays great defense and gives you good numbers across the board. So that's actually where I'm going to go with my number 16 overall best player, kind of a mix of Alan Trammell and Buddy Bell. In my opinion, those are the 16 guys who are worthy of being first round draft picks. There were a number of guys who just barely did not make the cut, who I want to show them a little bit of love and talk to you about why they just didn't make the cut. Um, One guy who fell out of my Sweet 16 very late. In my opinion, he's the fourth best starting pitcher in the 1980 set. Let's take a look at Oakland A's Mike Norris. This is an excellent card out of Mike Norris. You know what I like most about Mike Norris's card from 1980 is that he's a right-handed pitcher who destroys left-handed hitting. So very interesting card out of Mike Norris, and yeah, he's got a 9 inning uh, point of weakness. Another pitcher who I'm going to show a little love to, even though he was never really considered in my top 16 here. Let's take a look at Toronto Blue Jays Dave Stieb. Excellent card out of Dave Stieb for 1980. Here's an outfielder who it really hurt me a little bit that I was not able to get him into my top 16 because at one point he was. Um, at one point, this guy, he was, you know, he was in like this original pile of cards that I had just thrown into a pile randomly and say, oh, okay, this guy looks pretty good. He might make the top 16. And slowly but surely, he just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. He gives you some nice position flex and a really good card from 1980. Let's take a look at St. Louis Cardinals George Hendrick. This is definitely a guy who you could make an argument could have made it into my first round. Very nice card out of Hendrick. Obviously a right fielder, but you can see his defense is good enough, I guess, to play center field. So there's a guy who you could consider being in the Sweet 16. A couple more players of note who did not make my top 16. Reggie Jackson, New York Yankees. Don't get me wrong, it is a terrific card, excellent run producer, really nice on base numbers, but obviously the defense is troublesome. So, if you want to take a designated hitter or a really bad right fielder in the first round, go ahead. But to me, not first round worthy, or at least not first round worthy to me. American League Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone, good card, but not good enough. I'm not crazy about the string of walks that he has on his card when he faces left-handed hitting. So I definitely feel like the three pitchers that went in my top 16, J.R. Richard, Steve Carlton, and Jerry Rice, they all definitely have better cards than Steve Stone. And I think Steve Stone's card is pretty comparable to Mike Norris, but Stone's card was just not good enough to get into my top 16. And one last guy who I want to show you his card for. Had a really nice card in 1980, Johnny Bench. But the one thing about Johnny Bench was he only had like 300 some odd at bats that year. So he has injury on his card in a pretty rough spot. So that's something that would keep him out of a first round. But had he played a full season and he had like a normal Strat-O-Matic injury, like players who play a full season, like on a 2 roll or a number 12 roll, Johnny Bench's card, you could see just the card enough is good enough to consider first round consideration. Very good card out of Johnny Bench. So that's what I got for you. That's my final list, my Sweet 16, let's call it, for the 1980 Strat-O-Matic set. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about how I rank the players and where I pick them. If there's any players in my top 16 who you would not have included, definitely let me know. It's just all a matter of, well, really, it's just really all a matter of taste and really what you're looking for. I know for me, I'm someone who puts a lot of stress on really having good versatility on your team. And to me, anytime you could find a player who could fill different slots in your lineup and fit the role as anywhere from a number two to a number 4 or 5 hitter, something like that, or even a guy like I spoke on before, like a Willie Wilson, who you draft him to play left field, but then you could always stick him in center field. Guys like that, I just find very valuable. So, that's what I have for you for my 1980 Stratomatic set. I am going to do another set. I think the next set I'm going to do is probably 1984, just because that set is a little more fresh in my mind. I also have the 1982 and 1986 sets, so I'll go back and build draft boards for those sets as well as I also have a number of team analysis that I want to get back into the swing of doing. Should be making a lot more videos here in the near future because my workload is starting to dwindle down this time of year like it always does, as well as just been busy doing a lot of work around the house. So looking forward to making up a lot of videos here. I got some ideas that I think would be fun and just keep the conversation going over Stratomatic. So once again, I thank you all for watching. It is greatly appreciated, and I will talk to you all down the road.